happened next hit so differently. Because while the scoreboard showed defeat, the bigger picture was telling a completely different story. This moment had been building. From her 2025 Wimbledon debut, to the "in full bloom" concept that followed, to her visit to Nike headquarters on February 27th, where everything suddenly felt intentional. Posters on the walls, designs already in place. Eala was recreating her signature pose, like the brand wasn't just supporting her, but preparing for something. So when the collection finally dropped, there was no controversy, no drama, no rivalry fueling the hype. The only question was, how fast could the world click? And the answer, not fast enough. The pressure didn't come from hype. It came from scarcity colliding with devotion. Nike didn't just drop a generic athlete capsule and hope people noticed. They built something intentional. A collection rooted in the Sampaguita, the national flower of the Philippines. A symbol of resilience, of home, of identity. And then they placed it on the shoulders of a player whose fanbase doesn't just follow her story, they own it. They protect it. They represent it. They wear it like it belongs to them. That's what made this moment different. That's what made it powerful. Because when a limited drop meets a normal market, products sell. But when a limited drop meets a community that sees itself in the design, they don't just sell out. They disappear. Shelves don't empty themselves. They collapse. And that's where the comparison started to surface. Some channels began stacking this moment up against other recent Nike releases. Collections tied to established stars that, by comparison, didn't generate the same level of heat. Now, that's not criticism. That's just reality. In sportswear, momentum shifts fast. Trends move. Attention moves. But the comparison still matters, because it reveals something deeper. It shows where the energy actually is. And in late March of 2026, the energy was with Alexandra Eala. And here's the key part. This didn't start with a sellout. It started with a signal. Go back to Wimbledon, 2025. Her center court debut. A single detail, a custom Sampaguita hair tie. One flower, one symbol, placed on one of the most iconic stages in tennis. It was subtle, but it meant everything. Because from that moment on, this wasn't just branding anymore. It was storytelling. And when Alexandra Eala explained what that symbol meant to her, that's when people really understood. This was never just about tennis.
This was so special for me, first of all, to just have something that reminds me of where I come from, of my country and my culture. Makes me special is where I come from.
The saga is the flower of my country, a reminder of where I come from. That is not decorative branding. That is an athlete carrying national memory onto the court, refusing to separate performance from identity. The flower in her hair was never a side note. It was the origin point. That Wimbledon detail, that was the seed. By July 2025, the story had grown from symbolism into demand. The Nike by You in full bloom, Sampaguita t-shirt, designed by Manila-based artist Georgina Camus, dropped in the Philippines and sold out almost immediately. Why does this matter? Because it established a pattern, not a fluke. First came the hair tie, capturing imagination. Then the shirt, proving people weren't just willing to admire the story, they were willing to buy into it. That is how movements announce themselves. Not with one viral moment, but with repeat behavior. The fans who connected with Eala's cultural message the first time came back with their wallets the second. If you felt then that the Sampaguita was becoming bigger than a one-off Wimbledon accessory, your instincts were sharper than the industry's. The market eventually caught up to what devoted fans had already recognized. July 2025 gave Nike evidence. February 27, 2026 gave Nike intent. When EA arrived at Nike World Headquarters in Oregon, the treatment was impossible to ignore. Career posters celebrating her rise. A dedicated Sampaguita shirt display. Special edition shoes. And then, the image that tied everything together. The culmination of story, culture, and commercial strategy in one perfect moment. Eala recreated her signature winning celebration in front of a company-built monument to her own rise. No press release was needed. Every BSCBN segment, social post, and lifestyle features screamed the same message. This was not just another athlete, this was a story being elevated into legend. Nike was not tucking her away in a regional lane. They were staging her story with premium attention, surrounding her with imagery that felt less like background decoration and more like brand inheritance. The headquarters visit was not a reward for the movement. It was the company stepping directly into it, declaring to the world that this wasn't an emerging trend, it was a moment in motion. Then the collection dropped, and the numbers spoke louder than any announcement could. According to fan trackers, tennis content creators, and resale data, the newest Sampaguita-themed drop, shirts, shoes, accessories, sold out in under 60 seconds. Website traffic spiked. Listings went dark. Secondary market prices tripled in minutes. Monday, the link goes live. Within moments, inventory gone. Minutes later, resellers are already circling. This was not passive interest. This was a flash flood of demand. Put yourself in the shoes of anyone still calling this hype. You are watching a limited collection tied to a 20-year-old Filipina player vanish faster than collaborations reserved for global fashion icons and sneaker megastars. And this happened not after a Grand Slam title, not after a year-end world #1 finish. This was a story, a culture, and a moment collapsing into one irresistible force, carried entirely by Eala. Right now, while her on-court career is still unfolding in real time, the implications of what's happening off the court are enormous. Eala's story is already monetizing at a level that forces the rest of the sport to pay attention. And once those pieces sold through, the emotional climax landed exactly where this story always wanted to go, in the hands of the people. Fans across Asia and throughout the Filipino diaspora flooded social media with pride posts, celebration edits, and screenshots of sold-out alerts. Resellers moved instantly, signaling one truth. The fan reaction revealed an even bigger one. This was not merely commerce, it was recognition. A nation's flower had crossed from court symbolism into something the world wanted to own, display, and chase. That is why the sellout mattered so profoundly. The audience that believed Eala represented something larger than ranking points did not need permission from a marketing department to feel that. They were there when the hair tie debuted. They were there when the shirt sold out. And when the latest drop vanished almost immediately, the entire tennis world had to confront what her supporters already knew. Eala is not being carried by a trend. She is driving one. And then there's the one voice in this story whose endorsement outweighs all others, Nike itself. The company that has been with Eala since her teenage years. The company that transformed a custom Wimbledon detail into a broader visual language, building not just products, but a narrative that connects performance, identity, and culture. Nike didn't just back a player, they backed a story that the world now wants to participate in. The company that welcomed her into its world headquarters didn't just acknowledge her, they built dedicated Sampaguita displays around her image, elevating her cultural story into premium brand material, not a side note or niche narrative. When Nike spoke, it spoke with unusual clarity. The Sampaguita is a flower that holds its own. And so does Eala, a lifetime in the making, with a nation standing behind her. That statement matters because brands do not casually hand out identity-rich messaging at this level. They protect it, they test it, and they reserve it for athletes whose story can resonate across markets, cultures, and generations. By framing Eala not just as a competitor, but as someone carrying the hopes of an entire nation, Nike validated the emotional truth fans have been living and breathing for months. The immediate sellout grabs the headlines, but the deeper shift lies in what it signals about the evolution of women's tennis. For years, premium brand heat in tennis has been concentrated around the most established players, in the most familiar markets. The Sampaguita drop proved something different. An athlete from an emerging tennis nation, carrying a genuinely authentic cultural symbol, can generate demand strong enough to distort supply in real time. This is not a side story to the season. It is a map of the future. And the timing could not be more critical. The clay swing is approaching, with Charleston, Stuttgart, and Madrid set to become the next stages where cameras, fans, and brands will measure not only how Eala performs, but how powerfully her presence lands. It shows that an athlete from an emerging tennis nation, I'm carrying an authentic cultural symbol, can generate premium demand at a level powerful enough to distort supply in real time. That is not a side story to the season. It is a map of the future, and the timing matters. The clay swing is approaching with Charleston, Stuttgart and Madrid ready to become the next stages where cameras, fans, and brands measure not only how Eala performs, but how loudly her presence lands. After that come Rome and Roland Garros. Events where a player with this kind of cultural momentum can turn every walk onto court into a brand event before the first ball is struck. So here is the defensible prediction. If Eala stays anywhere near this level of relevance on court, Nike will not be able to keep the Sampaguita confined to one novelty moment. Expanded releases, deeper customization, broader regional rollouts become the logical next move because the current appetite has already exposed the ceiling as too low. What happened in late March did not close the story. It increased the pressure on everyone around her to think bigger. That does not erase the tennis reality. On March 23rd in Miami, much of dismantled Eala 6-0, 6-2. Before that, Indian Wells had already delivered another harsh scoreline against Linda Noskova. Those results are real and they belong in the story. What matters is what the aftermath revealed. Eala did not vanish into embarrassment and her community did not treat one rough night as a reason to step back. Within days, the conversation around her name had shifted from a painful scoreboard to a sold-out cultural statement. That is not denial. It is perspective. The losses remain part of the climb. But they no longer have the power to define the entire frame. A flower on a Wimbledon hair tie, a shirt in July, a headquarters display in Oregon on February 27th, a Miami loss on March 23rd. Then the drop, the scramble.